All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is February 16th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And once again, it is time for another session with my good friend from Real News and History, the great, the one and only Mike
Oh,
S. King. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How's it going?
It's going well.
Good.
Happy President's Day to everybody out there. As it
Yeah.
turns out, Mike and I both had the day off today. So, I mean, everybody knows we always pre-record these shows, but this is a little bit earlier than usual. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:30. Sitting down here with Mike, and certainly we've got a very interesting show lined up for all of you folks, as per usual. We're going to begin with an open discussion about the disclosure that we've seen thus far of the Epstein files. And certainly this is a topic that we have discussed on multiple episodes, especially recently, as the latest release has sparked the onset of awakening. People are indeed emerging from their libtard comas in large numbers, and yet there's been very little exposed when considering the vast amount of material in possession of the military, as we're going to get into tonight. So Mike and I are going to talk a little bit about where we are in terms of the macro, the 40,000 foot view in this process, what direction we might be headed as this continues to play out. Certainly a big part of this discussion has to do with discrediting the mainstream media as it relates to the juxtaposition, if you will, of their almost complete lack of coverage versus what's already circulating online pertaining to the deep, dark stuff: human trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, cannibalism, adrenochrome harvesting, on and on and on. And the central question really becomes how the white hats are going to continue to play their cards for the target audience of normies out there who are still clinging to their matrix belief system, the glue to which has always been the Mockingbird Press. So that should be a really interesting exchange of ideas. And then from there, we're going to pivot into Mike's most recent Q York Times article about the removal of the rainbow flag from a prominent historical location. I believe it's in Greenwich Village in New York City. And this will no doubt be an education for a lot of people out there in the audience who may not be aware of how the LGBTQ, et cetera, agenda actually got started. Mike's going to explain the significance of that, as well as reflect on the broader picture of eliminating this toxic, subversive ideology from our culture as a part of the Q operation. And as it turns out, this will be a nice addendum to the first part of the show, which I just described, having to do with the full disclosure of the Epstein files contributing to manufacturing public consent on this issue. We're going to be discussing how our culture is likely to be transformed on the other side of the eye of the storm, or at least we hope. So that's going to be the second segment. And then later on in the show, during the historical portion, we're going to do a deep dive, or I should say, Mike is going to take us on a deep dive into the Valentine's Day massacres in Strasbourg, I believe, and Dresden. And he's going to paint a rather horrific picture for all of us about the events that occurred there. The complete and utter massacre of well over 500,000 people, I believe, in German cities that neither housed any military targets nor held any strategic significance. And once again, in the process, Mike is going to demonstrate how important it is that we learn the real history surrounding World War II, which, as he calls it, is the mythology that has ultimately come to define the modern world. I might be paraphrasing a little bit there, Mike. But that should be a great segment as well. We're going to inform you about where you can access his amazing book on this subject, The Bad War. Of course, folks know we did a multi-part podcast series on that a while back. And that's going to be during the portion of the show where we pause and we discuss Mike's website and the various different ways that you can support his work. So like I said, it should be a great episode. If you're watching on Rumble, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And if you happen to be on X, that would be the heart button. Really does boost the visibility of the show and lets us know that you do appreciate these weekly episodes that we provide for all of you, with Mike, of course, doing most of the heavy lifting. So that is a brief overview of the show tonight. Let's take a brief moment here to hear from our sponsor, and then we will be right back and get started.
for ordinary supplements or skincare ever again after discovering Syrona. Let me tell you why. Syrona's revolutionary nano-sized products are designed to simplify your health and skincare routine, where less is more. Imagine the power of nano-glutathione and nano-CBD, as well as stem cells and other nanonutrients in every drop. Take ELIXIR for a daily boost of vitality, detox, and immunity. Or Panacea, which is perfect for improving cognitive and gut health. And don't forget our Skin Mist and Skin Plus Menet Mask, our skincare duo that leaves your skin shockingly youthful. But why nano-sized? Because smaller particles mean superior absorption and faster results. More bang for your buck and better health for you. But wait, there's more. Syrona's affiliate program offers generous payouts and overrides. That means you can earn substantial income just by sharing what you love. Join a community of wellness enthusiasts who are not only transforming their health, but also building thriving businesses that can be passed on generationally. With our 30-day guarantee, it's a risk-free way to start your journey to better health and wealth. So why wait? Dive into Syrona's next-level wellness solutions today. Visit the link below to get started. Syrona, unlock your full potential. Remember, with Syrona, you're not just investing in your health, you're investing in your legacy. Here's to living your best life.
All right. And I just have to say, the Syrona products are absolutely amazing. I keep getting incredible feedback from people out there in the audience. Multiple individuals are coming back to reorder once they try the glutathione, which is their flagship product. That's the ELIXIR, but they have so many different amazing choices. I highly recommend folks click the link in the description of the video. You'll also see it pinned in the chat. Give it a try, folks. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. I'm very much a skeptic when it comes to supplements, but as you know, I've had Ethan Lucas, the founder of the company, on the show a few times, and he has explained why these products are truly top shelf and very, very different from anything else you're going to find out there. So check it out, folks. Highly, highly recommend. All right, Mike. So hopefully I did a pretty good job at outlining the episode tonight. We're going to begin with a vitally important conversation surrounding the Epstein files, which have been rolled out so far, and the degree to which we're going to see the mainstream media engage the target audience with this material. The central question being, are they going to, at a certain point, start doing the type of reporting that the public would expect for such a monumental issue like this, or are they going to continue with the Nancy Guthrie-like psyops and downplay the significance of this incredible historic event that's playing out in front of all of us, and in the process, red pill the masses as to their wholesale deception, their gaslighting, and prompt more and more people to shut off their TV and to search for the truth elsewhere. That's an approach that we've long predicated as an essential element of this operation. As long as the mainstream media continues to feed the people lies, as you know, continuing to prop up the illusion of the matrix, the central question persists as to the impact and the long-term effects of public disclosure. Are we going to truly see and experience a great awakening? Now, certainly there have been some pretty shocking reveals that have come out so far. So why don't we begin there? I'm going to allow you to set the stage and talk a little bit about what we've seen come out, your take on the big picture, and how this process is being scripted, its effectiveness, and then we can go from there.
All right. Well, if you could put up that graphic I sent you.
Yes, sir.
And I can work off of that. What we saw, well, it's been about 2 weeks since the second batch was released, and now the third batch of files is out there. And what I'm noticing here is, on the one hand, you can't help but be very pleased and impressed with the information that's come out. Well, maybe pleased is not the best word given the content.
Right.
But we want everyone to know the full truth. And just with what's come out online, on the one hand, I call this Q online media. We're learning more and more about satanic ritual murder. It's all in the files and the emails. That every day something new leaks out. So to people who follow this online, not only within our echo chamber, but also expanding beyond that, whether it's Tucker Carlson or Nicki Minaj, or there's somebody has the biggest rated show on Twitter, just came out the other day, starts talking about QAnon. I mean, there's no question in that world of alternative news, this is exploding.
Mhm.
It's all out there: satanic ritual murder, infant and child rape, torture and snuff, blood drinking, and cannibalism. And this is all, of course, Q controlled. And at a certain point, people on their own who are not part of the operation start promoting it. So it's out there and it's spreading consistently. Then on the other hand, and I put a graphic up here, there's a man who can go on either one of two paths. He's at a fork in the road. If you seek the alternative sources online, the choice to know is yours. It's there. It's out there. They've opened up so many obvious pathways for people to go down and find the truth rather easily. Mm-hmm. Not have to do a fraction, some of the research we've had to do in the beginning of a Q operation. But then on the other hand, on the other road, and this is still the road more traveled, is mainstream media. And I call it QMSM media. It is the Q media. Q is controlling both elements in the media. The online alternative media. And as I cover, we've done so many pieces on what I call the Q York Times, on stories that are just astonishing when you consider that they're appearing in the New York Times. It's under control. ABC, NBC, CNN, all of it is part of continuity of government. So they've got oversight, if not total control. They're not maybe determining every story, but they've got oversight over all the media by the authority of things like Executive Order 13818, Insurrection Act, Continuity of Government, etc. We know that. And yet this other arm of Q is just feeding the masses the idea that this Epstein was just it's an elite international prostitution ring. And nobody really cares about that. And to the extent that some people do care about that, it's more for salacious gossip type reasons. It's not going to inflame or outrage people. And the reality is, in spite of the tremendous strides that have been made over these last few decades at chipping away at the influence of the mainstream media, this is where the bulk of normiedom is, MSM media. And you can't help but notice this strange contrast here, because they're both controlled by Q. Now, I understand with people who are addicted to mainstream media, there's a process, a learning curve, yes. However, I have not seen even so much as a hint or a subtle clue in any of the New York Times, and I pursue this daily. Every day I put in a Google search Epstein files to see what comes up on New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, mainstream. The good news is it's not going away. It's front and center every day, and it's intensifying. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I don't want to use the word unfortunately, because we don't know how it's going to play out yet. But I have to tell you, I have yet to see a single mention or even a vague allusion to allusion with an A. You would think by now that they might have embedded some mention of perhaps the girls were a little younger than we first thought, or there's young boys, or there appeared to be some occult type of language and some creepy stuff. Just throw it in there like spices, not to shock people, just to begin the introduction process. Nothing. It's just who's on the list, and it reminds me of the old British tabloids, or even American tabloids like the Enquirer or the Globe. Who's cheating on who? That sort of thing. So it's two different worlds, and what does this mean? Well, it can only mean one of two things, the way I see it. Either A, this means the choice to know will be yours. They could live in ignorant bliss, the normies, and for people who want to really get to the bottom of it, that avenue is also open. Could be that. We don't want that. Or the only other option I see is that perhaps in due time, they'll make this such a stark contrast that the followers of mainstream media will begin to ask, why aren't they covering this? I saw something online. Somebody sent me on what, and now you really discredit the media. So they could be going in that direction too. But I just think at this point, I'm personally, I'm 50-50. I don't have the script in hand. So this could represent either scenario.
Well, it's
But
very
just,
interesting.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to jump on you there.
Yeah.
But, no, it's interesting the way that you laid that out, because the first option that you described would seem to suggest that if they allow, and by the way, I'm in complete agreement with you in terms of this is the broad spectrum of the disclosure operation. This is a great graphic, and in a sense, you've got these two different pathways that are laid out, and here we are at this crossroads. But option A, where you just basically said that the normies would be able to continue on in ignorant bliss, to me, while that's everything remains on the table, everything is a possibility, and that cryptic statement by Q, the choice to know will be yours, remains cryptic. I mean, we don't know exactly what that means, but to me, that would suggest that there would not be a replay of the justice phase, because the one thing that we know for sure is that if and when, I should say when, we start to see the big fish arrests, people like Obama, people like Hillary, et cetera, there's no possible way, at least I don't see a way, that the mainstream media could ever possibly ignore that. I mean, if Hillary Clinton is doing a perp walk, if Obama is being perp walked, there's no way that they can ignore that. So to me, if the plan was to sort of allow the normies to exist in their normiedom, not only would we not see a replay of justice, but we really wouldn't have any significant awakening like we've talked about. It all really hinges upon people being brought to justice. So that's really one of the first things that jumped out at me. But the second option is the direction that I've been leaning in. Obviously, we've been seeing this the Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie psyop playing out, the wall-to-wall coverage. I mean, it's just crazy. You've probably seen a lot of the stuff that's come out of that, the random pizza delivery at the site, the black glove that they found, kind of a throwback reference to O.J. Simpson days when it was wall-to-wall coverage with the O.J. Simpson trial. And more people are looking at this stuff and they're going, what the hell is this? I mean, why is this the only thing we're hearing about? Sure, it's an interest. Even if you believe it's real, you could say, okay, it's an interesting story, but not exactly something we should be dedicating every waking moment of our time devoted to, especially as the Epstein files are coming out. And you kind of have to wonder, where are we at in that process where the dam, I see that some major cracks in that dam, Mike. I'm not suggesting that it's collapsed yet, but it seems to me like the strategy is for the white hats to allow mainstream media, like you've said over and over and over, to give them a shovel and basically tell them to dig, to continue to ignore this as more and more information comes out and the tension continues to build in this juxtaposition between the online media run by Q and the QSM gets wider and wider, to the point where people just start saying, well, I'm being lied to. The mainstream media, NBC, ABC, they're not talking about the most historical story of our lifetime, right? So that eventually it's going to be used to break down people's matrix program. I mean, is that how you see it, the choice before us right now? Because to me, it doesn't seem like you can have a great awakening if you go down the road of continuing to allow the normies to have their real estate to deny reality. It's not the great awakening. It's not justice. None of the things that we've been fighting so hard for. And I don't believe that's the direction we're headed, but I'm curious.
Well, there will be shocks. I don't think they're going to get away with the stolen elections. Actually, they haven't gotten away with it. We know it'd be published. They've been punished. I mean, the public perception, the Russia hoax, which is an attempted coup, treason, election fraud. I am confident that will come out.
But will that have?
I still have my doubts about the really deep, dark stuff. eating babies, torturing children, pulling out their teeth so they can't bite you.
Yep.
The stuff that's out there online.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But apart from that, there's still many other things that could shock the world that they can release. But this, to me, is the ultimate. Even things like voter fraud and the attempt to overthrow the government, and even people being arrested. It's big news, but doesn't shock people to their core.
Not at all. No, and actually, that's a partisan. Most normies out there would interpret that as partisan issue. Like, oh, Trump is coming out and he's trying to say that he did. He still hasn't won for the 2020 election, or he's still talking about how Biden's auto pen and this and that. That's not going. That's just going to cause people to dig in even further. I happen to believe, though, that if you get the deep, dark, satanic stuff out there, and you unite people on that level, because Q is very unambiguous. He told us. This is the issue. This is the only issue that's going to unite people across party lines. If you can do that, then all of a sudden, and you can expose the hidden enemy, then all of a sudden it opens up an entirely different perspective on things like election fraud, on things like COVID and the Russiagate hoax, and all of these things which we know are interconnected. So that's the way I see it. I don't really see that they have much of a choice. If we are going to have a great awakening, if we are going to be united, it doesn't seem to me like there's any other avenue that they could travel down. And it seems a lot more likely that they're using the mainstream media, as they have all along, because they have mentioned it briefly. They have talked about the Epstein files briefly, like you talked about. They're whitewashing the entire thing. But then again, when you look at the statistics, just about everybody out there is gravitating away from mainstream media. They still watch it. They still see it, a lot of these normies, as an authoritative source, but they're gravitating more online. I mean, if you go on X, no matter how much you curate your X feed, you're going to be exposed to this stuff. And the same thing with TikTok.
Yeah.
And I've even heard things like Instagram threads. My wife is very much a normie, and she's seeing this stuff all over Instagram threads. She's seeing hints of it on people are talking about it on Facebook. And so there's this kind of this gradual, eventually become an exponential spread of information where people are going to be incapable of ignoring that this actually exists. It seems to me, anyway. So,
well, it depends. I mean, they certainly do have the capability to push this through alternative means, if that's what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Because even if someone doesn't frequent the sites or follow the accounts that we do, like you said, it'll be in there somewhere. So if that's what they're doing, that's a really nice twofer, because you're exposing the world to the horrible, ugly truth, and at the same time, it's very easy for them to make the calculation that why is the media not covering this?
Exactly.
So let's hope that's the route. But I'm just saying, at this point, you can interpret it either way, because I don't see an iota. It's really weird, because Q controls the MSM. It seems like they've made the decision. We're not even going to drop a hint of this, which is smart if that's the plan, to turn people against the media. But it could also be in the other thing. I think I'm still 50-50, be frank with you. Could go either way. But I just thought it would be important to mention, as someone who monitors fake news, I try to get out of the echo chambers frequently as I can, so I can assess what's going on in the world, that there is nothing about this. Lots of coverage, which is good, but it's all just salacious stuff. Who went to the island? That's it. And the young girls, 16, 17, 18, it's still age of consent. Nobody cares about that,
Yeah. Well, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it occurs to me that there might be an option number 3 here, which is the current status quo, where you've got floods of information circulating online and almost nothing on mainstream media. And given the fact that it was just recently reported that I think it's only about 2 to 3% of the information that the DOJ actually has has been released to the public. We're talking about a very small fraction.
Yeah.
Congressman Burchett came out and said that the information in the Epstein files, he said he's read it all, he's seen it all, and he
Yeah.
says this is going to haunt you for the rest of your life. It's evil, it's satanic, it's from the pits of hell. It's
Yeah.
going to shock the world. He used a direct Q quote.
Right.
And so we've got that, and we're also basically being told an investigation. Let me actually pull this up really quickly here so folks can see. This was a post by Shadow of Ezra saying that, and I did fact check this, and it appears to be true, that an investigation has found that the Department of Justice has released just 2% of the material the FBI seized from Epstein's properties. The report says Epstein's electronic devices, including computers, hard drives, servers, are largely missing from the files made public. It concludes that the 3 million and even 6 million figures shared with the public represent only a fraction of what the authorities actually possess. And let me just play really quickly. This is a clip of Tim Burchett on Benny Johnson talking about this, which seems to suggest that we're going to be getting a lot more information that they're continuing to drip it on out. So maybe this might force the hand eventually. That's kind of where I was going with this third option. As more and more information comes out and it becomes impossible for the mainstream media to ignore it, are we going to then see maybe a switch go off and they'll start actually telling the truth and reporting on this stuff, which would, I mean, that would pour gasoline all over the fire in terms of the awakening. So let's watch this clip here.
This stuff that is in these files makes all that pale in comparison. And if you're offered an opportunity to view the pictures or read the files, I would seriously consider not doing that.
Yeah.
Because it will haunt you, this stuff that's in there. And here's the problem. The Biden administration, the Obama administration, these files have been out there forever. And I've said this many times. If they had the goods on Trump, that the Obama administration slash the Biden administration, because it never really changed hands. They would have had that stuff out there. And this stuff just goes so deep, Benny, and it is very disgusting to me. And, it's evil, it's satanic, and it's from the pits of hell, and that's where these people will end up. This stuff is in.
Okay, so then it just kind of repeats from there. So any comment on that?
Well, that's what I mean. That's it's still mainly that world, online world.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did appear in a brief clip on CNN as well. But I'll say this, if I was running this operation, okay, the way I would play it would be that scenario. I would find a way to get this out there. And by now there's sufficient power in social media. And then something like this would also trigger word of mouth. Okay. Mm-hmm. Put the horrible stuff out there online. And for your normies who still worship TV news, it will become harder and harder and harder for them to escape it.
Yep.
And that's the way I would play it, because like I said, you get that twofer. At some point, even a normie can make the simple calculation. Why isn't this on the nightly news?
Exactly.
It gets worse and worse.
Right. And then the question becomes, is mainstream media then forced to report it, or do they just continue digging in? Do they continue gaslighting the people in order to completely discredit themselves? See, I think it would actually be, you want to talk about a twofer. I think that what the White Hats could do is exactly that scenario. They could allow this to play out, more information. I mean, I don't think we're even remotely done. We haven't seen any of the deep, dark stuff actually, even online. Yeah. There's some stuff that's out there. People are talking about the Skippy video with Podesta. That's been out there. This stuff has been out there for years.
Yeah.
So none of this stuff is actually new. So more and more information will continue to come out. And what I think would be the best possible scenario would be that the mainstream media eventually was forced to report on it. So they're discrediting themselves by not reporting, by resisting it for such a long time. But
Right.
The white hats have kept the illusion of the mainstream media propped up for years now. Why would
Right.
they not use the mainstream media to just slam dunk this information on the public ultimately when the time is right? You know, like when a critical mass has been hit, when the white hats can recognize that we've achieved that critical mass of people recognize that there's this massive disparity that mainstream media is completely ignoring it. It's horrifying everybody, so they're forced to report it. They start telling the truth, and boom, we're off to the races at that point.
Or they force that with an EBS. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's another factor too.
But yeah, I mean, you definitely would want to take the mainstream press out. It would be. This reminds me of the children's story, The Emperor's New Clothes. You know, it just started with the child pointing out, "Hey, the emperor's he's in his underwear. Those are not fancy robes." And then,
Yep,
the adults finally get it, and the more people understand, the illusion just falls apart on its own. And what do the king's aides do at that point? They get even more frantic, pretending that they're holding up his robe and so on.
Yep.
So that would be a great scenario to see the media freak out and make it obvious to everybody that they're protecting, Epstein. So that's
yeah, and that could
yeah.
either be used to completely bury the mainstream media for good, or they could take the reverse tactic, which would be to flip the mainstream media, which of course they did years ago anyway, but to make it obvious in public and to get them to start talking about this stuff to the target audience. Because the reality of the matter is that there are some people that no matter what they see on X, no matter what they see anywhere else, if it's not reported in the New York Times, they're not going to believe it.
Yeah.
They're not
That's
going to
right.
believe it.
Yeah, you because what you're saying, and you make it obvious that they were finally dragged to this point and that they're still lagging behind.
Yep. I mean,
because you want to mimic the real world, right? Because that was the whole purpose with these institutions that have been captured by the Q operation. Is mimic what would have happened, maintain that kind of stability. So what would happen if Epstein Island was ever truly being investigated? How would the media react? Exactly in this way. And if they couldn't ignore it, they would spin it. Oh, it's a prostitution ring, essentially. So this is consistent with what the media would do. So I'm not necessarily pessimistic and disappointed that there's nothing in there, because if your goal is to mimic the media as you're actually controlling it, they're doing what the regular media would do, and that's continued to spin this as a gossip type story. So, yeah, but I'm optimistic. I mean, I still don't know, but I do believe they have the capability, if they want to inundate society with the gory details, even without the mainstream media.
Right.
I mean, you talk about something like, and this has been circulated. It's interesting you mentioned that the Tony Podesta, the John Podesta, Skippy, the screaming child.
Right.
I've seen that popping up in feeds now.
That's right. Yeah. As a matter of fact,
something like that, people word of mouth can begin to see that and say, "Oh my goodness," and it's a process. It's still, it can still play out over a few more months. It's a process. But let's see how many people in normiedom can get exposed to this stuff. Yeah, because that's that's a common objection. I've heard it from your viewers, my readers. Oh, I talk to some people are still normies. They don't know. They don't understand. They don't get it. I know that. Have them listen to the Skippy video.
Yep. And people are
interested. Yeah.
People are seeing this stuff all over TikTok. This is just one example. Okay. This guy right here, talking about his reaction, the blood curdling screams, that you hear on that video. And this is, honestly, as horrific as that video is, this is nothing in comparison to stuff that they have.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So this is just one example of probably, I would say, at least five or six dozen that I've seen that have popped up in my feed of people having these visceral reactions to this stuff. So let's just watch what this guy says.
I just made the biggest mistake probably that I've ever made in my life last night. Couldn't sleep, looked at the files, started with documents, moved on to video, and my God, bloody hell. We're living in bloody hell. I had to stop because I can't unsee what I saw. In my life, I watched horror movies, not even close. Blood-curdling screams of young kids, the fear in these children. These people are the devil walking earth. The devil is on earth. It was horrible. Unaliving of children. The idea that they've been unaliving children, cutting up intestines and eating them, unaliving babies, violating, essaying these children. I mean, I've never in my life, if you had told me in my wildest dreams, I swear, maybe I'm naive. Am I naive? But if you told me in my wildest dreams that this kind of thing was happening in this country.
All right. So that's just one example. And like I said, there's like thousands and thousands of these. And eventually this is going to breach the consciousness of the normies. And really the question that we're having centers around how the white hat's going to quarterback this in terms of the mainstream media, because it's a very, very powerful tool. It remains a powerful tool as long as they continue to prop up the illusion that it's the mainstream media of old that they could use in order to prompt the awakening of the masses. That was the traditional wisdom before we kind of figured out, as you described to us many times, that they'd taken control of the illusion making machine. And in essence, they were using the mainstream media to discredit itself. Before that, it was really this idea that they were going to utilize the mainstream media to really directly red pill people. So it's a question of, are they going to discredit the mainstream media and have that be a more circuitous way of red pilling the target audience, which is already underway? Or is there going to be a tipping point at a certain time in the not too distant future where this just gets so big online, mainstream media can no longer, again, according to the optics of the movie, they can no longer ignore it. And they actually start putting details, maybe not as hardcore as the stuff that we see online, but enough to prompt the masses to look in this direction.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting to see how they go about that. But I mean, one way or another, like I said, it all really comes down to, we already know the justice has been meted out. We certainly know that the white hat military is in control, but the question of whether or not we're going to have a great awakening hinges upon this issue, because you and I agreed on this. It doesn't matter what they do in terms of election fraud, in terms of 2020, in terms of the auto pen, in terms of COVID. I mean, on and on and on. Russiagate, you can talk about that stuff to you blue in the face. It's still going to be a partisan divide on those issues. This is the issue, the only issue that's going to unite humanity. And if we don't get the truth to the masses, then you're probably not going to see, like I said earlier, a replay of the justice, which is a necessary part of getting everybody where they need to be in terms of the Great Awakening. So we'll see how it plays out. One other clip I thought that might be a little bit relevant too, just before we round out this segment, is from Tucker Carlson talking about, because we're focused here on the satanic ritual abuse for good reason. Okay. The deep, dark stuff, the stuff that's going to unite humanity. But another big aspect of this is the fact that the files are revealing that Epstein had his hand in everything. And it wasn't simply just like this one perverted guy who was running a blackmail ring. I mean, he literally was involved in seemingly every issue that was going on around the world. So Tucker commented on that a little bit. And, I'll just let him speak for himself in terms of whether or not he thinks we're going to see arrests. Oh, wait a minute. My apologies. I had it playing there, but I didn't share a screen. Let me go back to the beginning. All right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And in every country. And he's weighing in on every event of the moment that he's living in. So like, he's shorting the global financial crisis. He's discussing the fall of Gaddafi in Libya before it happens and trying to figure out how to profit from that.
Totally plugged in.
like at a level that, you know, as someone who just like covers government, I feel like I know plugged in people. Never met anyone that plugged in.
Yeah.
So what is this? He represents no government. He clearly works for Mossad. He clearly works for CIA. He really is in contact with both, and clearly British intelligence. So he's not working for Israel. He's not working for the United States. He's not working for the UK exclusively. He's not working for anybody, really. He's kind of this independent power broker working with a series of other independent power brokers together who form some kind of supra government above all representative government in the West. That's the clear, you know, so like, what is that?
Yeah. Do you think we'll see arrests?
Well, it's been almost 20 years that some of this material has been in the custody of governments. Most of it is still hidden, and there have been no arrests. Instead, there's been a consistent, over decades, effort to shield the people exposed from arrest. So, no, I mean, there may be performative arrests. But the big question is not, was there blackmail? Yes. Was there sex with minors? Of course. Was there some kind of weird religious practice that we would describe as witchcraft? Oh, yeah. But the bigger question is like, what was this? It's clearly an informal governance body over what the rest of us consider the authorities, which is to say governments, nation states.
Pretty interesting clip, I thought.
Yeah.
Any comments on that one?
Well, he's talking about the New World Order, the cabal. That's what it is, a super government that exists above the governments. You know, so that's the stuff I've been writing about for so many years. Good.
Why is that
finally mainstream now? That this idea, yeah.
Well, you know, he said some interesting stuff in that clip. He mentioned when he was asked, do you think they're going to be arrests? He said, well, you know, maybe performative arrests. And I thought that to be an interesting phrasing, because that's exactly what it's going to be. The arrests have already taken place. Whether or not Tucker meant it that way, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. That is an interesting choice of words. Performative. He didn't say symbolic.
He said performative.
Sacrificial lambs. Performative.
Yeah. And he also mentioned that Epstein, he's like, well, he didn't work directly for Israel. He didn't work directly for the U.S., but he did. He mentioned Mossad. He mentioned the CIA, and how this guy was kind of like the keystone of this global governance, that this new world order that keeps popping up, right? They keep using that term. So very, very interesting. And then before we wrap it up, I think there might have been one more clip I wanted to. Oh yeah, this was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course, a big part of this whole Epstein drama has been the optics, of course, that Trump is standing in the way. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very public about this whole feud that she had with Trump centered around the Epstein files, and he didn't want them to be released. Let's go ahead and watch this. I thought this was kind of interesting, because if you know, you know.
Pam Bondi, she serves at the pleasure of the president and his administration, and those there are telling her, here's who you can prosecute. No, don't do this. I mean, they told her that the Epstein files, that fight to release the Epstein files came directly from President Trump. And I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, but that is the truth. He fought the hardest to stop these files from being released. And the only reason that he signed our bill that we passed in the House was because he had to. It became a massive political problem. Biggest political miscalculation in Donald Trump's career was calling this a hoax, fighting the release of it, and having Mike Johnson, the speaker, refuse to bring the bill to the floor, to the point where Thomas Massie, myself, Nancy Mason, Lauren Boebert actually had to vote with all of the Democrats to get it released, to get it.
All right, so there you go. I mean, the kayfabe continues between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump. Any comments on that one?
No, they're still doing it, and it's a winning formula. The more they do it, the more deeply they suck in the left.
That's exactly right.
Okay, that's a whole chunk of this country, 40% of this country, chomping at the bit, thinking they're going to get Trump. They're so far in now. Yeah, they're in for quite a boomerang.
Well, that's what I
They're
mean.
They're going to continue to do it. They're going to continue to do it more and more and more. And the more Trump puts on this act of reluctance, the more the people on the left will demand a release, which gives us precisely what we wanted. So this is going to continue to be played out all the way until the real shocking stuff is dropped. And so effective is this deception that some of our own have fallen off the Trump train. I get these worried emails time to time. Oh my Mike, they're saying there's Trump, he's part of this. So
it's laughable.
But it's good, because if you're going to stage an effective deception, then by unintended consequence, you're going to throw some of your own people off the trail. So that's just show. So if people who are supposedly seasoned anons or followers of anons are being fooled, what chance does the left have to resist this type of maneuver? None.
I don't know how they're being fooled when we're seeing pictures like this. I mean, this is how stupid they think we are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. I mean, it's incredible.
They didn't even bother to do an AI. You could do an AI dead ringer. This is them having fun.
Right, exactly.
And giving us a clue. Yeah.
I mean, and the more that they're putting this stuff out, and the more that they're pumping life and oxygen into this fire with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump resisting, he didn't want to be a part of it. It ties directly into what we were saying about the mainstream media. I mean, at this point, yes, we know we have what I like to call the MAGA normies. You call them the
Magadonians.
Magadonians, yeah. So we have them on the right. But when you're talking about the mainstream media, it's primarily the leftist normies in this country. Right. And so they're continuing to draw people in. I mean, that clip with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Owen Schroyer, that was just from a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
She's still perpetuating this narrative that Trump didn't want any part of this. And the whole spectacle. I know you wrote an article about it with Pam Bondi talking about the Dow Jones and the stock market at an Epstein rally, at an Epstein hearing. So the more they're doing this, to me, it seems very encouraging. I mean, why would they continue to draw these people in if there wasn't going to be an even more epic rug pull at the end of it all?
Oh, yeah, right. They're being drawn in so they can be punched in the nose.
Exactly.
And then you have to understand, even though all the leadership of the left-wing deep state has been obliterated, I'm convinced of that, you still have a segment of our population that, in essence, they remain our enemies. They're still operating on their own. Perhaps their commander was shot off his horse, but they still charge forward.
Right.
So we've got this huge chunk of the population hates Trump. This is the only way you're going to get to him, with credibility. You go back to the earliest Q post, and this is a theme that's repeated constantly throughout the Q post. Trump he's got to be removed from this.
Yep.
They cannot, in any way associate Trump with the release of this damning data that's going to take down so many Democrats. They won't accept it to go into denial. But now they're in so deep that once you do hit them with the truth and Trump walks free, they'll never suspect they've been played. And so but they understand that. And this goes back to as far back as 2017, early days. Q is hitting on this theme. It cannot come from Trump.
And I saw you did some amazing, I know you just started a new series since you brought up the early Q post. Can you, before we wrap this up, can you tell folks a little bit about that series? Because
sure.
I think there are a lot of people out there.
Oh, yeah, they're going to love this. I was going to save this to the end, but that's fine. I started a series. I'm going to try and limit it to 15 to 20 parts. And I'm going to go through 5,000 Q posts. Obviously, not each and every single one, but this is what I do when I tackle a big, vast subject, whether it's World War II or the history of the cabal. Just try to extract the essence of it and the main key points. And my motto, keep it simple without being simplistic. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing episodes, and the goal is to do 200 at a time. And there's 5,000, so that's 20 episodes, give or take. And I just posted number 3, actually. But I'm starting from the very beginning and just extracting the most important elements in lines. Because a lot of the stuff gets redundant after a while. Some of it we never even figured out. Some of it are just pithy one-liners. There's a lot of repetitiveness.
Some of it's just like code, and you don't even know.
Yeah. And there's some good stuff that by necessity I'm leaving on the cutting room floor. Just I'm sure there'll be people saying, "But we didn't mention this." I have to, but it's going to be about 20 hours, and you can go to them in episodes. And when you're done with this, you're going to understand Q and the posts better than most anons. You know, and I've gotten such a huge expressions of gratitude for doing this. I was really blown away, which shows that my hunch was correct, that there's a real need for this. Because
Oh yeah.
if you're late to this dance, okay, you're just now trying to piece things together, the Q operate. You know how daunting that is? 5,000 posts, which align with contemporary events and Trump tweets and things like that. It's like, you know, dropping a calculus book on the desk of a 5-year-old and say, get to work, study. You can't. So by doing it in this way, so many people are very grateful because you really start to get the essence of it in a very simple way. And I go in chronological order. And I think this is going to be an enormous help for people who don't quite have a grasp on it, especially newbies. But also, I think someone like you will even get a lot out of it, because as I'm going through them, I'm seeing stuff that I either forgot about or missed. Okay.
If you think I'm not watching them and taking notes, Mike, you're crazy. I mean, I am. I absolutely am. I mean, we all can learn more about this stuff. And there are so many drops that you read perhaps years ago and you forgot about, or you didn't really quite make the connection. Sure. So, I mean, if people talk all the time about like, and I see these different episodes or different podcasts doing like Q School and Q for Dummies and all that type of stuff. And when I started to see those pop up, I thought to myself, wow, it would be great if Mike did a series like something along those lines, because the way that you deliver information and cover such vast topics and make it, you streamline it and make it accessible to people. And, you know, the fact that you are an OG anon, you were awake well before all this stuff began. I thought this would be a winning formula. So
your people are going to love it. It's called Q Crash Course. It's at my Rumble page. You look for the playlist on the Q vids, and I'll have them all in order. Yeah. Q number 3 is just posted, and number 4 probably due tomorrow. And it's a great companion piece with this, The Secret Plan to Save Humanity. This is a 1-hour read, large print, lots of pictures. Between this and the series I'm doing, you know, you no longer have to feel, you know, I don't get it, because it's a lot. It really is a lot. But when it's organized properly and in chronological format with a little explanation, there's really no subject on earth that's complicated. Most of the teachers suck. That's the problem in our society.
You're a great professor, great teacher. And I actually saw that. I think it was the first couple of videos that you put together were like in the top 10 in the Rumble leaderboard. That tells you people really want this information. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they've definitely gotten a lot of traction.
Yeah, I mean, I had a hunch, but just from all of the comments and in the personal, thank you, Mike, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really did something for people. Because we kind of take for granted, because we've been, I don't know when you discovered the Q post. I would imagine early on, or been a while.
Yeah, well, I was peripherally aware of them, I think probably for the first couple of years, but it wasn't until about like 2019, 2020 that I really started to dig in. I mean, I knew what it was, but I was not glued to the chans. I wasn't taking it in real time. I mean, towards the end.
It's a lot. It's not just the post, because as you're reading the posts, you have the contemporary events going on in real time in the real world, and the Trump tweets, and they all link. You see, and to tackle a subject like that, green, it's very, very daunting task. Yep. But I make it simple, and I also sprinkle in some examples of what's going on in the real world. Like Q posted this, and then Trump said this. Look at, how about that? You know, and they match things like that. Mm-hmm. It was quite a ride, but we take it for granted if we've been keeping up with it. But for someone like new or relatively new or not grounded in it, it's your head gets lost in the labyrinth of it all. But I think what I've done with this is I've made it accessible to a whole new categories of people. So
I see a future book, taking but yeah, we'll leave that for now.
yeah,
Okay, yeah. So I mean, look, just to kind of wrap things up, folks, this whole operation, in many ways, I've said this before. It's kind of like, especially for Anons, people who have been following this. It's not just a military operation. It's also an IQ test. Like when you see Marjorie Taylor Greene try to make the argument that Trump was, he was doing everything he could, and the only reason that he signed this is because he was forced to do it. BS. The bottom line is all you have to do is apply a little bit of logic. If Trump really was a bad guy and he really was the president of the United States and he was in a position to veto a bill to block this information from getting out, you're damn right he would have done it, regardless of what the optics would be. I mean, it's kind of like the burn bags that they keep finding at the FBI. You ever scratch your head and wonder, gee, isn't it? I mean, why would somebody have a burn bag? What is the whole purpose? You have a burn bag because you have incriminating evidence inside the burn bag that you don't want anybody to access. So why in the world would they leave incriminating evidence inside of a burn bag in a closet in the FBI after Biden leaves power and Trump comes into power with his FBI people and leave it there for them to find? I mean, you have to be completely retarded to believe that. So again,
maybe they ran out of fuel.
I mean, come on, it just defies all logic. And again, I'm not bashing anybody, because I, just like everybody else, I've had my moments where I've gotten sucked into the optics of the movie. I'm not above it all, but I'm just saying, with all the stuff that's coming out right now, folks, I mean, I personally don't see how anybody could be blackpilling at this point. Sure, you could point to the memes of the Epstein the arrest counter, and we haven't seen any justice. You're talking about the end game, folks. Look at where we're at. Look at how much is accomplished. It's only going to intensify. You think if they were going to allow this story to go away, that all those clips that we just showed you, that they would still be circulating this stuff? They would be trying to memory hole all of it. They wouldn't be telling us that we've only seen 2% of the information that the DOJ possesses. So as far as I'm concerned, we're really still at the very beginning phases of this release. But I'll leave it at that. Anything else you wanted to add, Mike, before we
well, you mentioned the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, and I just, in my series, I just got done discussing the Trump Jeff Sessions split. And if you understand something like that and the precedent for it, then you look at this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing and you laugh. But Q told us specifically that it was theater. When Trump was denouncing Sessions, he's the worst mistake I ever made. Meanwhile, Q puts a list of all the FBI and DOJ people that Sessions whacked. Jeff Sessions was an assassin. He was taking out deep staters by the dozens. And
not to mention
way out the door, he reads Epstein's Island. Okay, that was useless Jeff Sessions, as Trump called him. The guy was a killer, and Q told us right there, it's theater.
That's right.
So same thing.
Going on. Since when did Sessions leave? It was like, I don't even remember.
2019. It was.
Just said the 19th.
I think it was just the day before he left. The day of, they had the big FBI raid of the actual island. So that's all him. All of this stuff that we're waiting to come out on. Thank Jeff Sessions for that. That's useless Jeff Sessions, as Trump called
That's how long this kayfabe has been going on, folks. And even before that, Mike could list several different examples. So again, the point is they're continuing to do this. They're continuing to operate this way. And as long as they're doing that, we can be assured that more information is going to come out, and eventually it's going to get to that tipping point. A critical mass is going to be reached.
That's right. Yeah, I'm always happy when I see Marjorie trashing Trump, because I know it means the other shoe's about to drop. And if somebody watches my series as I go through for them, that they'll begin to recognize these patterns. And the old adage: give a man a fish, he eats for a day; teach him to fish, he eats for a lifetime. The way I'm breaking down this Q operation, I'm teaching people to fish.
Beautiful.
And you'll see the strategic thinking. But it's
we'll circle back.
Very happy to do the series. So please, everybody, go in order and watch it, and then watch the other series that I completed, the Rise and Fall of New World Order Cabal. That's also on my playlist. That's a 38-parter. But you go watch these every night for a little bit and digest them slowly. And
Mhm. Or just reinforce what you already know. That's really
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to, because this audience is pretty well versed. As I like to
Yeah.
say, when you get to a show like this, it usually means that you've been you're not a newbie.
Right.
This
This is
this platform,
graduate school.
yeah, this
But
platform,
nonetheless, this will be it's a great refresher course, and I'm sure that there's stuff you all missed, just like there's stuff I missed.
no
You
doubt.
will pick up new stuff in the posts. So
Exactly. We're all
yeah,
learning new stuff, just
yeah,
evidenced by Mike's newest book.
yeah,
Apologies to JP Morgan, but we're
yeah,
going to circle back to his work in between the next segment and the historical piece. So let's go ahead and switch gears here a little bit, although this is very much connected, as I was saying before,
yeah,
to the discussion that we were just having. So this is a Q York Times piece that Mike put out, I
yeah,
believe, was it yesterday or the day before?
yeah,
The Q operation removes the rainbow flags. And what I find so interesting about this topic is because it really relates to a much larger question that we've been exploring on this show for quite some time, which is, how do you transform the culture? Andrew
yeah,
Breitbart, we all know that quote, politics is downstream from culture. We get that. But you look around, you see on social media, I mean, sure, a lot of the stuff you see is fake. A lot of it's staged, et cetera, et cetera. But there's no question that we have a very deeply sick population. My theory as a part of that is that ultimately what's going to heal the population, what's going to reverse course, is telling people the truth, is just
yeah,
laying all the cards out on the table and allowing people to process the truth to enable us to get back to that baseline of a morally centered culture. But in the meantime, we continue to see such deviance really in every direction we turn. So this is an important subject here, and it's going to relate to, as I said, a much larger question, which is, the Great Awakening has to lead to some sort of a sense of moral cultural healing process that we have to go through in order to reverse the course that we were on. So with that, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you.
yeah. Well, there's the Times headline: Pride flag is removed from the Stonewall Monument after Trump directed. That's the Stonewall Inn, generally considered the birth or the kickoff point of the modern LGBT movement. There was a riot. We'll talk about that more in 1969 in June. So that's why they picked June as Pride Month. The removal of the flag from the Manhattan Monument, the symbolic heart of the gay rights movement, came after Trump administration meme about flags at national park sites. So there's no rainbow flags at any national historic sites, including Stonewall. That was a Trump directive. And here's a picture from the New York Times. It's I don't know if it means anything, but it's kind of strange. First of all, the stripes on those signs are vertical, not horizontal. And
Interesting. Yeah.
they're not the colors of the 6-color rainbow. The queer rainbow is 6 colors. There's many more colors. First thing I jumped out at me when I saw that is it seems like another EBS emergency
Yeah.
broadcast, right?
I didn't even notice that at first. I was just focusing on the rainbow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got spider senses. I pick up these things.
Kind of like the Super Bowl theme we were talking about last week.
Yeah. So maybe in time, Q did promise a EBS. So just an interesting way to present. I've never seen the queer flag presented with vertical stripes and that many colors. It's only supposed to have 6 colors. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Dusting. It's dusting. But there's the protest. How dare they? This is a national historic monument only because of the gay implications, and they were ordered to remove the flag. Now the city people put it back up. All right, but we're not going to do an insurrection act for this. Point is, it's a darn good sign, yet another sign of the winning, that these flags were ordered to be put down by the Trump administration.
Yep.
That evidently they were during June. They're probably all at every national historic monument. No more.
Mm-hmm. It seems like
this is part of a pattern too that we're going to discuss. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, it seems like just yesterday that we were having a discussion about quote unquote Pride Month. And you were talking about how you'd gone up to your local Target and had
Yeah.
seen a massive drawdown of all the LGBT propaganda that you would see inside all these corporate outlets. And indeed, that's I mean, it's almost nowhere to be found at this point. I went into a local Target, and I, was it last June? Because it was right around the time you had mentioned it, and I was
Yeah.
kind of curious myself, and I went and I looked around. I was like, wow, there really isn't
Yeah.
much in here. There were a couple
Yeah.
little little displays, but it was nothing like it used to be, where
No.
you'd walk in and they smack you across the face with it. So very interesting. All right, let's continue.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Last year, Pride Month was muted, and I noticed it right away. Petco was getting really outrageous with this stuff. Even queering up the cats and the dogs,
Yeah.
the vests and the leashes.
Yeah.
Big display at the front of the store. Last June, conspicuous in its absence was all the rainbow stuff. It just had one bin, a single bin, contained evidently leftover inventory from the prior year, some rainbow pillows and cushions and things like that. That's it.
Yep.
In that same complex, there's a Target, and Target is notorious for this woke kind of garbage.
Mhm.
They really would assault you as soon as you walked in every year. Rainbow, right? It was getting worse by the year. Last year, it was just a little kind of cubicle section
Yeah,
with some
right.
rainbow t-shirt, and that's it. It was off to the side. You were not assaulted with it. So that's that. This is part of the Q operation. This is Trump. I mean, I don't know if Trump even gives orders anymore. I think he's out golfing somewhere. But it was very noticeable last year. There was also a story that I covered last year about major corporate donors pulled out of the funding the gay parade.
Yep, I remember that.
And lending their name to it. How much is that was due to Trump pressure versus the fact that they're no longer intimidated because ESG investing has been killed? ESG investing is, this is what we had come to. If a corporation did not manifest sufficient sensibility toward climate change, homosexuality, Black Lives Matter, they would get dinged. They could get kicked out of the big funds by BlackRock.
That was like their credit score.
Yeah, that's right. So in essence, a social credit score.
Yeah.
And that's why all of a sudden, I mean, you couldn't help but notice Pride Month would come, and all of the corporations at one time were all in. The same with BLM. The same with the COVID hoax.
Yep.
It was almost as if there was a central coordinating force dictating this, and there really was. That was ESG and BlackRock. Trump has killed ESG. We've covered that.
Yep.
It's over. And you got Larry Fink, or this character purporting to be Larry Fink. I don't know if it's the real him.
Larry Fink.
All of a sudden came out and said, we're not interested in ESG anymore. That is about as astonishing as when Bill Gates said climate change isn't a problem anymore. What's going on?
Yeah, in a 17-page memo.
Yeah. So these people, who's been replaced, who's under submission, I don't know, but the world has changed. But without that intimidating factor, which was the central coordinating force, the corporate donors pulled out of the gay pride parade in New York last year. So let's see what this year brings. I think it'll be even more dialed down.
Yep.
So this is part of a trend, and it's a good sign because it means it's a deliberate policy. I mean, this was a movement that was getting to be so in your face, right, and seemingly so unstoppable that to see it not only slowed down, but it's being reversed. It's quite an accomplishment here, and there's obviously a force at work here. That's the military.
No doubt.
This is from the article I'm quoting. A large pride flag was quietly removed from the Stonewall National Monument in Manhattan after a directive from the federal government, the latest step in the Trump administration's nationwide assault on diversity initiatives, and the second time in less than a year that has targeted the Greenwich Village site, which commemorates the birth of the LGBTQ rights movement. Stacy Lentz, owner of a bar, said its owners had been surprised by the removal. to think you can go to Stonewall and just take down a pride flag, that is telling of the times we are living in, Len said. And indeed, she's right. So this is their holy place right here, Stonewall Inn, where it started. And it was in late June of '69, which is why the June is the Pride Month.
Okay.
So, something we would not ever have expected or predicted back in the age of Obama, when everything seemed so dark and hopeless, right?
Exactly. And yet
So this is really, I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
I said, and yet people continue to black pill. It's amazing. This is their entire agenda. I mean, we cover this week in and week out. Has been reversed. It's continuing in that general direction, that general trajectory, and it's just incredible to me how people could even question at this point who's in charge.
Yeah, and they just look at the optics. That's why you really need to have a. If they understood the Q operation, all of this stuff becomes obvious and predictable.
Everybody's focused on the end game, and I understand that. I get it. We all want to see those things happen, but that's the whole point, is that we're building toward it. And everything that we're seeing play out is aligned with that ultimate goal of really not just replaying the arrests, not just replaying the executions, but reversing. And this is really kind of what I was talking about before, the cultural trend that we were on, reversing the path. And this is all evidence of that.
That's right. And it's a process. It's a delicate process, because just because you remove the bosses, you still got these people exist in very large numbers.
Millions of them.
So it's got to be managed, but they are, everything is in retreat. We do shows almost every week on this. One week it's the ESG, another week it's the climate change hoax, right? Another week it's the IRS, another week the EPA, everything. There's not a single support point of the globalist liberal new world order that is not being imploded.
That's right. Or radically repurposed to the patriot agenda. It's either one of those things.
Yeah.
So
this is where it started. And it's interesting. This is 1969. 1970 was the first Earth Day. So, the 60s, 70s is when they really start to ramp up these movements. And just like the fake countercultural movements and the fake Earth Day marches, this too was orchestrated. They got all the queers in New York to spontaneously rise up against the police, because from time to time they would raid these clubs and bathhouses where they do, God knows what they do. And they fought back. So there was riots and protests. And then this turned into a big cause, and people joined in, even non-gays joined in. Gay pride, rights, just don't raid us anymore. Leave us alone. We're not bothering anybody. So it started like that, innocuously. Mm-hmm. Just leave us alone. And a lot of people went along with that. Okay, keep your shit on the down low and leave them alone.
Yeah. And then
because, by the way, we want to serve in the military. Oh, don't ask, don't tell. Oh, we want to get married. And then before you know it, it's like homosexuality is mandatory. That was
not only that, you're not allowed to oppose it. You have, it's amazing because first it's leave us alone, don't oppress us, don't force things on us. And then the next thing you fast forward 20, 30 years, 40 years down the road, and it's exactly the opposite. We're the ones saying, hey, wait a second, don't force all this crap on us.
Exactly. That's how they forced. The rainbow is forced on you. The rainbow's in the school, the library, the trannies reading to your kids. Yep. You have to accept it. So, but it all started with, that's one of their buzzwords, their weaponized terms, their euphemisms. Tolerance. We just want a little tolerance. We're here, we're adults, we're in our bathhouse, we ain't bothering nobody. So it started like that. It always starts with the foot in the door, rather innocuous.
That's right.
And that's it. So that's the significance of Stonewall, 1969, the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village. Mm-hmm. And I made a note here that it was Bill and Hillary Clinton, who is a lesbian and a Satanist and a witch and a murderer, but I digress, who designated Stonewall Inn as a National Historic Site in 2000. Should have never even been added to that list. So this ranks up there with, Independence Hall and the Statue of Liberty and so on, and the Alamo,
Right.
Stonewall Inn. So that's how it was designated as a National Historic Site. Then Bathhouse Barry Obongo was homosexual, and Big Mike was a tranny. You can't make this stuff up, but it's true.
It is.
Yeah, they took it a step further and made it a national monument in 2016. So it's under the jurisdiction of the federal government. They can manage it, and the Trump administration gave the order to pull down all of the rainbow flags. So that's how it. They really amplified its importance, because up until this time, they were the only ones who attached any significance to Stonewall Inn. But the Clintons and the Obamas took it a step further, and by now, had Clinton gotten to be president for 8 years, it would have been, a national shrine, mandatory field trips for school kids, probably something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So that's the deal with Stonewall Inn.
I didn't even really know about the history behind Stonewall. I knew it was I knew it existed, but I didn't know the history and
right.
A lot of folks out there, I'm sure, are probably hearing this for the first time. So
there's no doubt that this was a color revolution type deal, because the way it went down, I mean, you had your standard police. They would bust these places once in a while. All right, break it up, everybody out. But out of this, boom, came spontaneous protests, and then they started their publications, and then they started getting political, all out of this one moment, just like the environmentalist hoax grew out of Earth Day. So you have that triggering moment. So it's another spontaneous, fake, deep state, CIA engineered color revolution. In this case, it was protests, but these protests it really put the whole gay rights things on the map. And then from that moment forward, it just kept progressing. So that's a deep state operation. Yeah.
And this was in the late 60s, right?
69, June of 69, last few days of June of 69.
Got it. Okay.
Now, I asked a question here. Now, how do we really clean up our society? Because even if you take out the masterminds and the engineers, you still have a corrupted people. And history shows humanity is quite capable of corrupting itself on its own. You don't necessarily need big cabal engineers doing it. So we got a lot of repair work to do. And I just wonder out loud that if the coming hoped for mass disclosures of the Satanism and the ritual killings and the rapes and the torture and the blood drinking, all that, something like that comes out, it truly is shocking, and it has to fundamentally transform people on an individual level. Just hearing something like the Skippy audio, and that's just audio, right?
Yep.
So I ask, will the disclosures of satanic abuse change our culture? Like an alcoholic or any other compulsive, self-destructive type, finally hitting rock bottom, public knowledge of the full horror of Epstein, Mossad Island, and the Clinton Foundation shipping containers will enable the white hats to rehabilitate the morally retarded masses through a spiritual revival and a return to God. If the post-storm period does not play out that way, it will represent a lost and irrecoverable opportunity for our world to return to sanity and true happiness, a chance that may never come again.
I agree.
So that's what I'm hoping for. And I think the white hats are intelligent enough and historically literate and grounded enough to appreciate that. So I say, bring it on, make people vomit. I don't care if people jump off of buildings, they can't happen. That's the only way that we do some soul searching. And then we can wipe all this filth away once and for all and rebuild morally. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
And the movements like this never would have taken root if people knew the ultimate design, if they knew the power behind it. And that's a big part of it. What I believe is going to be revealed here is that it's not just about, it's kind of like the clip we were showing with Tucker talking about how Epstein was plugged into everything. They're going to start to reveal the larger design here. They're going to show the horror. They're going to expose everybody to the horror, but it's not just about that. It's about how this entity, this dark entity, was in control of all the puppet strings all
Yeah.
throughout the world. And once people start to connect those dots and say, well, wait a second, they took advantage of our compassion, they took advantage of our empathy, and they had this design to completely destroy our culture and our country and ultimately
Yeah.
to kill us all off. Boom, a light bulb goes off and people are saying, well, wait a second now. We don't have to be so, there's that word tolerance. We don't have to be tolerant.
Yeah.
Actually, we can actually have morals, and we can stand behind those morals. And one of the things that I've consistently said about the exposure of evil as it relates to the concept of a spiritual awakening, that's the one good thing about evil is once you see it and once you're exposed to it, it inherently brings you closer to God. There's nowhere
Yeah.
else to turn. Now,
Yeah.
sure, there's 4 to 6% lost forever. Some people would jump
Yeah.
off. Some people won't be able to handle it. But those who do make it through, which is going to be a vast majority, 95% of the country, are going to
Yeah.
have to go through that reconciliation, that spiritual reconciliation. Once you see the evil, its counterpoint is the light. And
Right.
so that's where
Yeah.
I see it headed, and that's why all of this stuff
Yeah.
ties.
Well, in 1973, I think it was, The Exorcist was the film of the year. And, priests were reporting that there was an uptick in church attendance while The Exorcist was
Yeah,
making
right.
box office records.
Yeah.
And that's just a film, I don't know, maybe those people stuck, but
No, but
that's very
that's the way
true.
that's the way that
What you said, you come to grips with something like that.
yeah.
It's really, it would be ironic, and let's see if Satan ends up getting the rug pull boomerang here. These activities may be exactly the type of medicine or the knowledge of these activities that society needs.
That's right.
It can certainly be played that way. So,
How did we become such a sick society? It's because people it's
Yeah.
that old adage that the greatest trick Satan ever played was convincing the world he didn't exist.
yeah,
The reason that we got to this point was because they've got a vast majority of the world to not
Yeah.
understand the true nature of evil and the way that it worked. First of all, its existence,
Yeah.
but then how it actually manifests in society. They always
Yeah.
do it. I was talking about this in a coffee chat the other day. They depict evil almost like a caricature of what it really is. Once
Yeah.
people see it and they're exposed to it, and Satan, the evil one, the deceiver, and all of his different
Yeah.
all of the different traps that he set for our society become apparent to the vast majority of the population, that's game over. They're not going to be able to manipulate us this way, because then it's going to get ingrained at a DNA level. People are going to, the next time somebody comes around trying to say, lower your defenses, lower your drawbridge, we
Yeah.
have your best interest in mind. People are going to say, wait a second,
Yeah.
I don't know about that, and that's really what it is. I think that's how you change the culture, is you get people to recognize the true nature of evil, turn to God, and be willing and able to stand behind moral principles and defend those moral principles.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that had humanity defended the moral principles that built this country, not that it was without problems and issues, we never would have seen this type of stuff take.
And just a small detail like this, that these flags were ordered to be taken down, to me indicates that Q understands very well what you just said. Otherwise, why do it?
That's right. What are those flags?
I do think a moral restoration is in the cards, as is the political cleansing, and of course the economic rebuilding in the golden age. There's a lot of indicators of that. So,
Indeed.
but we've got to hit rock bottom first, and we haven't yet. So
that's that is a really great metaphor. But I think that we're getting pretty close. We're running out of excuses for people to continue with this self-destructive path. The more the evil is, and that's really what it comes down to, is as long as the evil stays hidden, and as long as the public is given a way out, and given an option of, you don't really have to look in this direction if you don't want to, then we're probably going to be in the same general wheelhouse. But the minute that changes, and it goes back to our conversation with the mainstream media, the minute people are forced to face these realities, that is the exact moment when our society transforms.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
there was they were rerunning the original Dracula movie a few nights ago, and I saw it. I always watch. I love the old horror stuff with Bela Lugosi.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There's a scene in there where his his main adversary in the film, Professor Von Helsing, he said something. Dracula derives his power from the fact that people don't believe in him.
Exactly.
Okay, everyone thinks he's a distinguished aristocrat, very sophisticated gentleman. But that's what gives him this power, and that line just struck me.
Yep.
But that's how it works. And you look at our ruling elite; they derive their power from the fact that nobody could believe such things about them.
Precisely. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why all of
them.
us were considered to
Yeah.
be the nutty conspiracy theorists, the
Yeah.
whack jobs out there who could possibly even entertain a theory like this. And look where we are, folks.
Yeah.
Masses
Yeah.
they're starting to have to look at this stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's historic in and of itself. So sure, we still have a little ways to go,
Yeah.
no question. But we are undoubtedly on the right
Yeah.
track. No question.
And it is the only way. Moral restoration in the long term is the only way. And I've got a Q post here, 154. Not the image. The image I added. That's a Norman Rockwell painting. It's a classic painting. But Q post 154. And again, I take the things like this as a very good sign, positive indicator that he understands, that the White Hats understand what we're talking about here. He says, "We the people are who they are afraid of. We, the people, are who they fear will one day awake." And then he posts the Lord's Prayer in its entirety.
There you go.
So that's a very, very powerful post, and it tells you a lot in that post.
It's a spiritual war.
Yeah,
it really is a spiritual war. We don't often talk about it in that context, but I've always said in my solo work, especially, that this really is, it's God's war against evil that's being manifested by the military, the civilian alliance, Nons. All of us are playing a role in it, but ultimately this is a divine mission to expose evil.
Yeah.
No, there's no way around it. And once you do, and the devil can't play his trick and convince the world he doesn't exist, and by extension, all of his proxies, all of his minions that we call leaders and celebrities and so forth, once they're exposed for who they really are, and that raw evil comes out, I can't imagine that our society wouldn't have a spiritual revival. I can't imagine that people wouldn't turn back to God in droves. I mean, my goodness, if seeing The Exorcist in the movie theater, I mean, sure, it was in the 1970s. Okay, fine, you can make that argument, but this is like I mean, Q told us it was going to be biblical.
Yeah,
this is exactly
right.
About it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I could pontificate on that all day. I won't. So was that the last slide in this one?
I think so.
Okay, excellent. So let's pause here, and we kind of got I asked Mike about his Q series because I was so excited about it, but this is the portion of the show where we pause for just a moment. And we take a look at one of the best websites out there, which is Mike's realnewsandhistory.com, and have Mike talk us through his work, basically explain his mission, what he does so well. And really, he's a singular force out there who's able to connect the dots between the history. I mean, he's a professional historian. His knowledge base is just staggering to me, but it's not just what he knows, it's what he's able to express and ultimately connect to everything that's actually playing out right now in this scripted movie in this late stage of the operation. So this is Mike's website. So I'm going to pass it over to him and have him talk a little bit about his books and PDFs, his articles, Mike King University. We'll take a look at his Rumble channel, his Amazon page, and encourage everybody out there to support Mike in what he does. He's been doing this for 14 years professionally. He's been awake for over 30 years. So this is a massive brain trust that's being essentially gifted to all of you for free every single week. But it's very important that we remain mindful of the fact that this is Mike's source of income. This is his living. So it's very important and incumbent upon us as fans of his work to support what he does. So with that, Mike, go ahead and take folks through your website, and I'll kind of navigate as you're talking.
Well, as you just saw in this recent piece, I weave together seamlessly the history with the news, the real history with the real news. And that's going to make you understand contemporary events so much more clearly. And there's my motto: fake history is the fake news that has passed into the rearview mirror. This has been going on a long time. And if the news is fake, with the passage of time, the history is fake. Everything's fake. Everything we're taught about pretty much the last 200, 250 years is fake. And even a lot of stuff before that. But there's my website, very easy to navigate, a ton of free information. You want to bookmark it, go through it. What you really want to get is the Mike King University package, all 35 of my books and booklets in PDF format. This is the only thing I sell that's like pay-per-view on the site. And, I price it to be very affordable. As I want to strike a balance between, supporting my work and expanding the operation, but I also want it to be accessible. Because frankly, a package like this is worth $1,000 easily.
Yeah, several thousand.
More, many thousands of that, because it enriches you. How do you put a price on that? It's true information and, more importantly, education, because it's also teaching you to start to think on your own when you learn these lessons. And I have a unique way of putting together a vast topic in clear, concise, small packages with lots of pictures, large print. You almost think you're reading like a children's book, but it's very profound stuff.
Very easy to digest. Very
easy.
You highlight the essence of what's most important. Yeah. And that's an amazing skill. That's what great teachers do, by the way. They know how to draw your attention to the real essence, the real true important stuff, to not get lost in the weeds, and to make it very accessible, easily digestible. And like you said so many times, you're always thinking in terms with your advertising background in mind, but also ultimately what you want your books to be, which are weapons in the information war.
Yeah, I want the information to stick and draw the reader in and be something you could share with people, feel good about. And primarily, I see all of my works as weapons, more so than I do as, academic works. They're weapons because I don't care what your educational level, your reading level is, you can get this stuff like this and figure out how the world works and go forth with it. So this is digital army stuff that I'm equipping you with. So that's the website, and that's the PDF package. If you like the old school to get the books in hand format, most of my books are available at Amazon. My Amazon page is Mike S. King. You can order the physical copies of the books through Amazon. There are some exceptions, though. Well, there's the website there, and
these are always the ones.
And a lot of them have really cool covers. You could put them on your coffee table.
So this is the newest one. Apologies to JP Morgan, which is an absolute banger. Folks should definitely get. We should probably add that to the list of essentials here, Mike. Honestly,
that is very important, because it's 1913. It's all over the Q post. 1913 as the critical year, income tax and the Fed. And a lot of us in the movement, we understand that when we start first learning about this. But somewhere along the line, things got corrupted, and J.P. Morgan and Nelson Aldrich got blamed when they were the ones trying to resist all that, all the communist penetration in the country. That's why I title it "Apologies to J.P. Morgan," but definitely want to get a hold of that.
That's a groundbreaking book, folks, and
it is, because it's also the period in time when the old ruling Anglo elite got bumped off by the Jewish cabal.
Yep,
because they didn't see them coming.
Yep.
They trusted them, and before they knew it, they got the media, they got the banks, everything. Crash Course NWO, 250 years of history in 1 hour. Just a basic framework. Okay, again, I'm just trying to give people a basic understanding here. You don't have to go to PhD level right off the bat. Although if you keep reading all my stuff and studying, you take it as far as you want to go. But I'm giving you the essentials: Secret Plan to Save Humanity, Crash Course 9/11. You'll see them all there. This one here, which we're going to talk about next, The Bad War, The Untold Story of World War II, which also covers World War I in much detail as well. This you could only get on my website on the menu, WW2. Too hot for Amazon. You're not allowed to defend Germany and Japan. Although my Japan book is allowed on Amazon. This one,
I was
no.
going to say, yeah, Japan gets treated a little differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you go to my website, and you have to get these here. Again, they're part of the PDF package, most economical, $29. You get them all. But it's just a nice book. And this is like one of my longest ones, 330 pages. I usually don't go that long. But even then, it's large print, lots of pictures. So easy to read and very sticky.
Not bad for covering all of World War II and a big portion of
one and two. Yeah. And you know, as you saw my first episode or second, Q very early on asks the rhetorical question, who was really behind World War I and II? And they just kind of skipped over that, because Q is not going to get into anything that could be perceived as Hitler defense. They just couldn't. It would be practical. But it does say that the stories of World War I and II are bullshit. Who's really behind it? What family? Rothschild. But this really does define the modern world. So get The Bad War, and then the companion piece, The Song That Never Ends, debunks the Holocaust, so-called Holocaust. Okay. So that's my website, Amazon page. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
No.
I was actually, it reminded me, I was looking for the art. Did you end up writing an article on the reasons for the internments? Because I think you had mentioned
Yeah,
that.
just recently. Yeah.
Okay. Is it in the article section of the website?
I think that's in the article section. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's probably why I didn't see it there. Okay.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
get back into that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it.
Then the other element is the Rumble page, which I started not too long ago, like maybe 9 months ago, but it's people are liking my vids. So that's cool, because there's an audience that reads, there's an audience just like videos, and then there's overlap. So this is a new class of people now is being exposed to my work. I'm very excited about this. I just completed a series. I was doing like an episode a week for 9 months, 38 episodes, The Rise and Fall of the New World Order Cabal. You'll see it on my playlist there. You start in chronological order. I'm taking you to like 300 years. You see how vast and deep this insane global cult really was, and how helpless it all seemed on the eve of 2016 election. We really are living through a miraculous time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a great series. And then I started a new series, as I said, as I'm going to go through all 5,000 Q posts in batches of like 200 at a time. And obviously, I'm not covering all of them, but you're going to get the essence of it. That's in the playlist entitled Q. There's another playlist. Q Crash Course Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 is going to go up. That'll be added to this later tonight. And as you go through these Q posts and you see me explain them and link them to real world events, it's all, the operation is going to become so clear. And it's the kind of thing you could drop on somebody who's like open-minded and curious, but still finds it too much to believe. And I think it's very effective the way I'm doing this, because it's just simply too much material to cover. But even still, it's probably going to be like 10 episodes of about an hour each to cover all 5,000, but that's what I'm working on now. So please follow me on Rumble.
Yeah.
You'll find me there, Mike King, realnewsandhistory.com. Follow me and watch the videos, hit the like button.
Well, you look like a mafia don in that picture, Mike. Look at that.
Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should put a suit on.
Like the guy, there it is, without the JP Morgan. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had a suit on, that'd be like Godfather material.
Yeah, with that background. Yeah, Sopranos.
Yeah, love it. Well, congratulations. You're over 25,000 followers on Rumble, and I'm sure that's just going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can anticipate. I have this weird thing where I can somehow anticipate what Mike's future books might be. But once you finish that series on the podcast series on explaining the Q drops, talk about a banger that would be a bestseller, boy. I'm telling you.
Wow. That would be voluminous. I would need a staff to help me. Even just going through them this way.
Well, that's what I mean. Kind of doing it in your typical fashion, which is not trying to cover every single Q drop, every single line. You'd lose people in 5 minutes, but capturing the essence of it, which you have a unique ability and talent. Food for thought. Food for thought. So anyway, make sure you go and support Mike, realnewsandhistory.com. So with that said, why don't we bring back our slides here? We're going to get into the historical piece tonight, which I previewed at the beginning of the show. And this has to do with, of course, we just had Valentine's Day a couple days ago. And this is going to be a much darker look at what occurred on Valentine's Day, as you can see back in, I believe that's supposed to say 1949, right? Oh, is that? Oh, never mind. That's is that
No,
actually
two separate events? 1349 is correct. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
there you go. All right. So in 1349 in Strasbourg, and then in Dresden during World War II. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Mike, take it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are two events separated by like what, 6 centuries almost. And they're well-known historical events. I don't know about how well known they are, but they're known as historical events. Each one gets its own encyclopedia entry. But I do believe they're related. And I'm going to explain why. First of all, let's go back to Dresden. We just had the anniversary this week. That's why this article came up. The firebombing of the German city of Dresden began on the eve of, it was late at night, February 13th, on the eve of and then February 14th was the main horror bombing.
And now, what year was the Dresden bombing, Mike?
1945. Yeah.
45. Got it. I knew it was at the end of the war. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
But on Valentine's Day, this is known as the Valentine's Day Massacre in Strasbourg. That would be modern, is Germantown. Today, it's part of France. Okay, but that was a German city. February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1349.
1349.
An entire Jewish community of 2,000 Jews were publicly burned to death. And I wrote here, the gentle Germans, all Roman Catholics at the time, seemed to collectively lose their minds in a rage that compelled them to round up Jews, burn their homes, and even their persons to death on stakes. Given their age-old reputation for hospitality, further enhanced by the dual Christian doctrines of love thy neighbor and turn the other cheek, a reasonable person with judgment unclouded by years of tear-jerking persecution propaganda has got to wonder, at least in private, what the bloody hell caused the Germans to act this way. So I don't know to what level the story is embellished about the kid, but there was a massacre and was the burning down of a village. That's a historic fact. The Germans descended on a Jewish village and wiped it out.
Oh, that's one heck of a hook there, Mike. Let's see if we can answer that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So whether justified or not, there's got to be a reason. And you know, we need to dispel this historical myth of the Germans as like a warmongering, militaristic people. They're actually not historically. And I'm talking about, you go back centuries and centuries. All of the German kingdoms, you know, I mean, look at the structures they built and these wonderful villages and folk music and festivals. Just a very skilled agricultural people. I mean, the Amish are German, you know.
Yep.
But their history has been one of being under attack by aggressors. After a while, you learn to be a little militaristic to fight back. At varying times, various German kingdoms came under direct assault by the Romans, the Turks, the Moors, the Huns, the Mongols. And they're situated right there in the heart of Central Europe. They're always the one being attacked. They really do not have an aggressive history. To the contrary, they tend to be very hospitable people, and especially during medieval times. So it's kind of uncharacteristic to act this way. Go out and start rounding people up and burning them and killing them. Why? Don't tell me it's because, you know, they're anti-Semitic. It had to be something deeper. Something happened. Put aside the issue of whether or not the action was justified. I'm talking about what made y'all lose your minds like this. Well, at this period of time, the Black Death plague was raging throughout Europe. Historical death estimates vary from 25% to 35% of the European population was wiped out. This was known at those times the Holy Roman Empire. That's staggering. You imagine a third of the population wiped out? Every family loses somebody. These plagues were horrific. And every time one of them broke out, this persistent rumor, and this would happen, this happened in Poland, it happened in France at varying times, that there were Jews were poisoning the wells.
That Bibi Netanyahu
and
2.0.
didn't he just tell us that? Yeah, the military operative posing as Bibi Netanyahu, did he not essentially just tell us that?
Multiple times, by the way. It's not like
Why?
he just said it once.
Yeah.
He said it at least 3 or 4 times that I can remember, that I've seen
Yeah,
clips.
exactly.
recently.
Right.
Mhm.
And you know, it goes without saying, but I'll give the disclaimer anyway. This is not to say that this all Jews were out to murder people. We're talking about that element, a certain element embedded within Judaism. The same bunch raping kids and drinking blood and referring to their victims as goy on Epstein Island. That's what we're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
It is also a historical fact, and the Jewish historians concede this, that in this case, a lot of the Jewish communities were spared. They didn't seem to get ill. And they say it's because of the ritual hand washing involved with Judaism. That's the official story. Okay? But people in Europe are scratching their heads. How come you guys ain't dying? There was suspicion. There were confessions that were obtained, albeit under torture. They did obtain confessions. So it was widely believed that their wells were being poisoned. So that's why they lost their minds. Jewish scholars explain Jewish survival rates, which they actually admit as being true, as being due to the ritual hand washing. So now you've got this mass death and genocide. Your loved ones are dying horrible deaths from this plague. And you've got these rumors circulating, and then you have this these people were put to torture and confessed. They passionately believed that the Jews were poisoning their wells. I wasn't there. I'm not going to comment on that. But that's what happened.
Well, you have to wonder, too. I mean, was it just
So you definitely have reasonable suspicion, for sure.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, too, is it just the fact that the Jewish communities appeared to be spared from this, or were there actually people who saw them poisoning the wells? I mean, one would have to assume, and I'm not obviously as well versed on this as you are, but one would have to assume that if these rumors were spreading all throughout Germany to the extent that it was going to cause them to carry out a massacre like this, that it was probably more than just a reasonable suspicion. They probably had some stuff to go on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
I mean, where does something like this come from? You know, and it's all consistent with death by poison. And then you've got the history, the known history of other things like the so-called blood libel with the children being killed. Epstein Island stuff. This has been going on for centuries.
That's right.
Vicky Poland on Oprah. What did Vicky Poland on Oprah Winfrey tell us in the 1980s?
I was just thinking about that.
She says it's a satanic cult. It's not all Jews that do this, she said, but within Jewry, there's a satanic cult, goes back centuries. And they were killing babies, drinking their blood. She told us that. But this kind of stuff was also known back then. Speaking of Count Dracula, what do you think that allegory was based on? I mean, the similarities are striking. So, you know, to me, you almost have to say it as a historical fact. These wells were poisoned. I would bet on it.
Yep.
Okay?
No doubt.
So that is the context of the Strasbourg massacre. I think I have an image on the next panel.
Yep. And as this death is raging, this Black Death plague is raging all throughout Europe and especially in Germany, and people are dying these horrific deaths. Sure, people would be grief stricken by it, but they wouldn't. I personally don't think that the natural human reaction to that is to look for. I mean, that's what Satan Yahoo will tell you that they were just looking for a scapegoat. They were just looking for somebody to blame.
Right.
I don't believe that.
It doesn't make sense. Right.
Some substance behind that belief. It's not just, who are we going to blame? Oh, I don't like those people over there. Let's just point a finger at them and then go wipe them all out. It doesn't work that way. There has to
be. Q, speaking through this imposter Netanyahu, essentially has confirmed this, as far as I'm concerned. And he kept bringing it up. He keeps saying it. Netanyahu, this character, this imposter, keeps saying it. So Q wants us to know that this happened.
Indeed. All right, moving on here. Oh, is that the same picture? Oh, we got some.
Yeah. So that's just like an image, a drawing of how it would go down. You know, everybody, all the communities would draw from the same well. I mean, these things were out in the open. And you know, you create some kind of poison, pulverize dead animals over time, whatever. You put it in a drinking water. It's that easy to access. So in terms of opportunity, it's actually not that difficult, especially if you're going to do multiple wells and you're organized. Okay. I mean, can't you just see the not the descendants, the antecedents of like the dancing Israeli characters pulling shit like this? Is that hard to imagine? You know, they're high-fiving on 9/11 as the towers are coming down. I could see their great-great-great-great-grandfathers doing something like this.
Oh, their MO has always been the same. This satanic cult, again, embedded within Judaism, not representative of all Jews, but this satanic cult, that's always been their MO, is to inflict mass casualties, mass death on specifically white populations.
Yep.
I did it again with the whole COVID thing too, but that's another subject.
I mean, heck, but Martin Luther, I guess 100 years after this, says that they would kill us all if they could.
Yeah,
Martin Luther said that, and he was originally pro-Jew. You know, so this level of animosity exists, and it didn't originate with the gentle Germans. I'll tell you that.
I found it very interesting too on the topic of COVID, since I mentioned it, that RFK pointed out that somehow the Ashkenazis seem to be resistant.
Yeah, that's right. He did say that.
So
yeah,
I take that.
Again, that's Q telling us their plan was to manufacture something which they would be immune to. Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
In more recent times, in 2016, here's the headline, New York Times. Mahmoud Abbas, he's the head of the Palestinian Authority. You know, it's just as a side note, his official title is I think president of Palestine or something like that. And Trump addressed him as such in one of his truths. You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say he's the leader of the Palestinian Authority. Can't refer to him as president of Palestine, but Trump did. Mahmoud Abbas claims that rabbis urged Israel to poison Palestinians' water, echoing anti-Semitic claims that led to the mass killing of European Jews in medieval times. Look at the spin. This is the old New York Times, the real ones. Anti-Semitic claims, but they keep coming up at different points in history from different people. Now the Arabs are saying it. President Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority accused rabbis in Israel of calling on their government to poison the water used by Palestinians. He made the unsubstantiated allegation during a speech to the European Parliament on Thursday. Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel said in a statement later that Mr. Abbas had spread a blood libel in the speech. So
I wonder if that was the original Netanyahu back then.
Well, yeah, it's 2016.
2016, one would have to think, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But in this case, Netanyahu was forced to address it.
Right.
Because it's the head of the Palestinian Authority saying it. But in the recent cases, he just blurted it out on his own. He kept doing 2 or 3 times. You know, in medieval times, they say we're poisoning wells. You believe that? You know? So that's definitely.
It's just like he's continuing to threaten the West that you know, you better do something about this anti-Semitism that's spreading. You would do well to heed our warnings. He keeps saying it over and over and over.
Yeah.
Got to be leading somewhere.
So there is the story of the original St. Valentine's Day massacre, which is recalled to this day.
Okay, let's go to the other piece, which is this is still Strasbourg.
Dresden. Now we're going to talk about Dresden.
Oh, sorry, I saw Strasbourg over here. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's the 596th anniversary of the burning of Strasbourg.
Oh, okay, got it.
This is 6 centuries later.
All right.
Valentine's Day. It started late at night, maybe 10, 11 p.m. on February 13th, and the bombardment just continued all night and all day, Valentine's Day, the firebombing of Dresden. In 4 raids coming over a 30-hour span, 772 heavy bombers of the British Royal Air Force and 527 of the U.S. Army Air Force dropped thousands of tons of high explosive bombs and incendiary devices on the beautiful city referred to as Florence on the Elbe River, perhaps the most beautiful, picturesque city in all of Germany. The fires merged into one huge firestorm. Kurt Vonnegut, the author, who was a prisoner of war at that time in Dresden, he escaped. He described it as one giant column of fire, the whole city. Sucking oxygen to feed itself as defenseless German elderly, women, and children are suffocated or burned to death. The fire is so massive that the cockpits of the bomber planes are actually illuminated. Like mice stuck in inhumane glue traps, screaming victims got stuck in the hot melting asphalt of the streets. The force of the tornado-like fire pulls others up into its vortex. Pilots witnessed flaming Germans flying through the air. Other terrorized victims jumped into the frigid Elbe River to escape the oven-like heat which had overtaken the city's center. After the firebombing, fighter planes flew in low and machine gunned the survivors to death. It was hell. David Irving wrote a whole book on this. It was a night of hell. Totally. Well, the whole war was unnecessary, of course, and you shouldn't be bombing civilians. There's no military targets in Dresden. It's a cultural center, and the war is over. For all intents and purposes, it's over. The Soviets are rolling in from the east. The Americans and the British from the west. The war ends officially in May. At the end of April, it's over. So it's a rout at this time, and they did this.
So this was really just a satanic demoralization attack on the German people.
Yeah, this was satanic, and they got a twofer. They got a twofer out of it in terms of symbolism because it's Valentine's Day, same as the Strasbourg massacres. That's payback for that. Also, turns out to be Ash Wednesday, and this was a mainly Catholic city. So they turned it to ashes on Ash Wednesday.
You look at it through that spiritual lens, you see it completely differently. Right? You see this.
Yeah. I should also mention that a previous firebombing on the city of Hamburg in 1943. And again, this is different from some of the other. Most of the bombings were just destructive. This was deliberate inflaming of the city. And they did the same thing to Hamburg in 1943. 30,000 dead in one night, and they called it Operation Gomorrah because Gomorrah was turned to ashes. It's really sick shit.
You know, I didn't actually read through this article prior to us doing the show today, and when I saw Strasbourg, I mean, now I recall the event, but I had actually in my mind I was thinking of the event in Hamburg that you just described.
Okay, right.
I was thinking both of them. That's why I said in the initial slide there, I was like, I don't know, that date looks 1300s. I didn't know.
I thought it was a typo, right? Yeah.
Okay, now it makes sense. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. No, Hamburg was toasted in 1943.
Yeah, got it.
Tokyo fire also got a firebombing. This is deliberate burning to death of everything, as if regular bombing wasn't enough. Tokyo, 100,000 one night. I mean, World War II is so demonic. And, you know, in QS, what families wanted World War I and II. Okay. So what do we got on the next panel here? And look at those images there. The entire center of the city was just burnt out completely. And there you see they were stacking up the bodies to finish off the burning before disease could set in.
Look at that.
And
you want to talk about hell on earth?
Yeah,
Look at that.
yeah, that's hell on earth. And those are mainly women, children, elderly, non-combatants.
Unbelievable.
And I mean, you imagine throwing yourself in the river in the middle of February because the air was so hot. Even where there's not a flame, the air is so hot. It's like an oven. They couldn't escape it. So they froze to death in the rivers. Better that than being burned alive. This was just horrific. And estimates vary between 200,000 to 300 dead, possibly as many as 500,000. It's impossible to know because the city's population was swollen many times, 2 or 3 times. Why? Because the Soviets were coming in from the east. Dresden is in East Germany. And people were fleeing in terror, refugees, because they were raping everything, raping every woman they could get their hands on. So Germans are fleeing from the east. Also Slavic peoples. There were people who were pro-German, who were following the Germans as the Germans retreated. Okay, because they knew that revenge was going to be taken against anybody who originally, greeted the Germans with flowers when they came into places like Ukraine and Latvia and Lithuania. So the city is packed. It's the normal population of Dresden at the time is 600,000, but on that night, it's at least doubled, 1.2 million, 1.5 million, because of the refugees. So, and given that the entire center of the city is destroyed, nobody is surviving that. And even if you made it to a bomb shelter, you died because the fire was so massive, all of the oxygen was sucked up. So you suffocated in the bomb shelter. So nobody is surviving that.
Totally horrific.
Yeah. The official number, I think the West German government in the 50s says with 200,000 they think died in Dresden. And I got to believe that's a lowball figure because that's an occupation government.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, they're going to want to tamp those numbers down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's impossible to know. But that's got to be the lowest possible estimate, 200,000 one night.
Wow.
But it could be as high as 500,000. A lot of people believe that because you have no way of gauging the refugee population, how many people flooded that city and swole.
And is that part of the reason why they chose to strike on that specific day as well, because of the swelling?
Yeah. It was like, let's get these people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Churchill used to talk about that, about he wanted to baste the people who were fleeing. Mm-hmm. It's actually in an internal memo.
Sick.
Adding further mockery to genocide, St. Valentine's Day fell, okay, I had said this already on Ash Wednesday, a sick poetic twist to literally turn Catholic Dresden into ashes on a day when its church-going residents would have received ashes on their foreheads. Well, I mentioned the Hamburg code name. That was Operation Gomorrah.
Yep.
D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. Nobody knows what D stands for. It's devil. The official name of the mission is Operation Overlord. Who's the Overlord? Satan. Mm-hmm. You think that sounds crazy? Well, D-Day was launched precisely at 6 a.m. on June 6th, 1944, 666.
Yep.
This is going on back then. Okay, this is generational. The people that rape and sodomize and torture and eat babies did this. Get it?
And to think they led an entire country,
yeah,
and all of these young men to war, to their death, and that we were fighting on the wrong side the entire time. I mean, it just, you know, we've talked about this before, that there are some historical truths that are just so vast and so big that you have to wonder if they're ever actually going to be revealed. And, you know, we've shared ideas about that in the past, about once certain doors are opened up, then people are willing to explore correctionist history. But this is, I mean, just think about the way, even in this day and age, where in Russia and the United States and all over the world, there's still all of these massive celebrations about
still glorifying it.
Against the Nazis, and you know, we stood for freedom and everything. And then once you start to dig beneath the surface, you realize that this was a satanic operation. And all of these young men and all of these innocent people were slaughtered under completely false pretenses.
Yeah, that's right. They did everything to provoke the Japanese to making the move at Pearl Harbor. So then it's really, I mean, there's kids as young as 15, 16 lied about their age and went off and fought and got killed in this thing. You know, they're filled up with such patriotic fervor to go and fight.
To fight for freedom.
For the people whose whose subsequent descendants are the ones murdering, raping children. It's the same cabal. Okay,
Sick. Unbelievable.
that's what we fought. That's what the war was fought for. And Q even tells us that. Now, in recent years, Dresden is so horrific. They want to sweep that under the rug. So the academic historians have been chopping it down every decade. Now they've got the number down to 25,000 dead. They say only 25,000 died. That is such a lie. First of all, the West German government said 200,000, and they're already going to lowball it because they're under occupation. But just looking at these pictures and understanding that all the refugees that were packed in there. Now, I mean, if you ask me, it's probably 400,000 to 500,000. If you want to go with the official number, it's 200,000. But 25,000 is a joke.
Yep.
But that's how sick they are.
Yep.
They're trying to erase Dresden, and under the, I don't know how it's going on now, but whenever they would commemorate this in Germany, all the German press would say, "Well, these are Nazis." They're commemorating Dresden. I mean, can you believe that?
Shows you
What a horror story. But that had to be the single deadliest event of the war, without question, in just one night, more so than Hiroshima or Nagasaki, easily, in just one night, and it happened to be on the anniversary of Strasbourg massacre. Yeah, it's not a coincidence. It's payback.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right.
I also, is there another panel here? Oh yeah, this is
like we got one more, and then
there's a panel, and then I sent you two video clips. I just reproduced this. This was a tweet I put out. By the way, people want to follow me on Twitter. It's at Tomato Bubble, so follow me there too. The people who rape babies and eat them did this to Dresden on Valentine's Day, Ash Wednesday, 1945. Minimum 250,000 civilians burned alive or something. Look at that picture there, colorized. That's what it looked like. They literally recreated hell on earth. There were some British pilots, by the way, who said after the fact they couldn't do it. They saw like the firefighters trying to contain this thing, had to do the impossible. They say they just flew away and they dropped their bombs on empty fields. There were some pilots who just couldn't do it, couldn't handle it. But let's have a look at these two brief clips.
Which one should I do first? The YouTube one or the one on X?
Don't do the YouTube one. We'll do the other one first. We'll do the YouTube one second. Yeah.
All right. Let's
kind of show you the horror and also how, carefree they were about committing it. Okay. So here's some imagery. Look what they're doing in Dresden. Look at those blasts going off. Imagine the horror and terror on the ground, the screaming children. Those are all people's homes.
No military targets.
Nothing. The war is over. Cultural center. Nothing.
Yeah. This is civilians.
Just kill. Kill
women and
burn,
children.
Suffocate.
Wow.
There's people on the outskirts of town who survived it. It's like 30, 40 years later, if they ever took a train past Dresden, they would start freaking out. There's stories like that. Anyone who made it out alive.
Now, those are the bombs actually being dropped. You can see there with the stuff.
Yeah, those are the blasts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those big ones. Yeah, apparently so. Yeah. These bombs are massive. And they're calculated.
I think it went back into a loop there. Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah, they're calculated to burn. So you could just imagine. This went on all night. And then they come back with the fighter jets in the daytime and they start strafing civilians. A little sport to them. And, you have to say, how could this happen? How could the British, America do something like that? And these pilots, it doesn't make sense. People don't want to believe it. But you have to understand the context. This is 1945. You've got 5-6 years of daily hate propaganda being disseminated to the peoples of Great Britain and the United States. By the time you get to this point, total desensitization to it. Mm-hmm. You could actually read stories, for example, in the last days of the war, New York Times, Berlin bombed, estimated 50,000 dead. Nobody cared. That's how sick it got. You hear these stories. And in this next clip, you're going to see what I mean. just look how cavalier the speaker is in describing the bombing of Dresden. This is an old newsreel which they would show to the normies in the movie theaters of Britain and United States. That's how a lot of news was disseminated back then. So let's have a look at this clip.
All right, let's make it full screen here.
Elimination of Dresden. How sick is that?
Amazing. All right, let's see.
The bombing of Germany has long been an affair of day and night attacks, but now, with the Germans beaten back within their own frontiers, that bombing has become more intensive and more inescapable than ever. These formations, flying forts of the 8th American Army Air Force, are on their way to Dresden. Their mission was a follow-up of the night attack just previously delivered by the RAF. The attacks on Dresden, in fact, were notable feats of cooperation, not only between the Anglo-American Air Forces, but also between them and their comrades of the Red Army, which was at this moment only 50 miles beyond Dresden to the east. The Americans approaching the city found fires still burning from the RAF's night attack. With 500-pounders and with incendiaries, in the face of considerable flak and in spite of cloud, they now added fuel to the flames and yet more destruction to the chaos already caused. When the Royal Air Force went to Dresden on the night of the 13th, 14th of February, their force consisted of more than 800 Lancasters and other heavy bombers. The attack was made in 2 waves, the first wave bombing through cloud by instruments. When the second wave came in, the cloud had moved away, and our crews saw quite clearly how accurate the work of the first wave had been. Fires were still raging, there was a lot of smoke, but as HE and incendiaries went down, old fires blazed brighter still, and new fires started up. It was during this attack that the Germans sent up a new kind of scarecrow, a device that makes a big burst in the air and is supposed to look like an aircraft blowing up after being hit by flak. The Hun is ingenious, but never a very good psychologist. The Russians must certainly have had quite a good view of the RAF attacks, for our own crews reported that on their way home, Dresden's fires were clearly visible from over 100 miles away.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny.
I'm gonna say, what's that, like the Bugs Bunny theme at the end?
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
horrible. But that was the mentality, and people would see that stuff in the theaters and cheer. You know, that's the frenzy of hatred they were whipped up into.
Yep. And once again, no real context being given. No, I mean, normies are going to norm. They're not going to ask that question. Why did they decide to destroy that and firebomb that entire city where there are actually civilians there? And I don't know. I have to wonder, after 5 years of war, did people just get, like you said, just desensitized to it all, and they just get so killing?
Yeah, I mean, they still hadn't. The firebombing of Tokyo, I think, is the following month. And then there's Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then it's
I mean, we look at it through a different lens today, obviously, but wow. It just goes to show you the evil that we're up against, folks. So well, hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode. It's been amazing, as per usual. I always ask you, Mike, at the end of every episode, what you're working on. You got any New York Times pieces we can expect the next couple of days, or where's your eye?
I think I'm just going today. Just
I'm going to stick to your Q.
Next days, I want to focus on getting this Q thing done. I don't want to drag it out. It's actually a lot easier to do than my prior series, because the posts are already there. I'm just taking out the essentials and explaining them. So Yeah, that's it. Let me get those posts out. Hopefully, everyone will start watching that series. I think it'll, no matter where you are in your understanding of this Q operation, this will help you and help you see a lot of things more. So follow me on Rumble and definitely, again, you won't find this on Amazon like my other books. The Bad War. I call it the Bad War because the nickname for World War II is the Good War. It's often referred to as the Good War. I don't know if you ever heard that, but the cover, the word good is crossed out and it's superimposed by bad. It truly is the Bad War. But,
That's a masterpiece. Unbelievable book.
I cover everything in there. Dresden, Hamburg, you just see what a horror story it was. World War I and World War II.
Yep.
And that's it. So just, if anybody still has like lingering doubts about my version of events, it's not my version, it's the truth that I present about World War II. Just remember this. Like I said in that tweet, the people who sodomize, torture, and eat babies are the ones who taught you what you think you know about World War II and all of fake history.
What a great bookend to put on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the stuff, the entire foundation of everything that we thought we understood about history was taught to us by literal Satanists.
Yeah.
And thank God Almighty that the darkness is finally being illuminated by God's presence on this earth. My goodness. It's an incredible time to be alive. And it's amazing.
It sure is. Yeah.
I was thinking of myself yesterday and the day before I was doing a copy chat and I thought, because I always projected to this moment, like how would I feel once the gates of hell start opening up and all of these horrific truths come out? I always anticipated that I would kind of feel consumed by that dark energy that all the normies are feeling, but it's just the opposite. Like the more this stuff comes out, the more I feel at peace, not just because of an ego need for vindication, but just in the broad scope of things, understanding that everything that we fought for and everything that we believed in is finally coming to pass. It's truly so. All right, Mike. Well, we'll leave it at that for today. Make sure, again, folks, you are following Mike King. Bookmark his website. Make sure you also are following his Rumble channel that's continuing to grow. And likewise, if you could throw me a follow if you haven't done so already, and you can follow my what is it? What's my handle? It's at Patriot UG 2023. That's my X handle. If you could throw me a follow over there, I'd really appreciate it as well. That is continuing to grow. I was very late to X, but I'm encouraged to see. I think I have something like I just crossed over 17,000.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm looking to boost that up as well to sort of be aligned with some of my other platforms. I really do appreciate that. And we always say that it does go a long way when people see 25, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 followers on a channel. It does give it a much higher degree of credibility for the people out there who are trying to investigate and try to find new information, truthful information on their own. They see a channel that's got 50,000 plus people following it. It does a lot to open up that door. So really do appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in. I'm going to be doing an episode, at least I'm planning on doing an episode with Dave on Thursday. We go every other week. And naturally, I will be back with the great Mike King next Monday. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. God bless and Godspeed till the next time. Patriot out.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.